So starting off with the eyebrows, we're taking a glue stick, I prefer the clear one, and I'm just putting it over my brows with a lot of pressure, tracing them in the shape that they grow, and then I use my finger to flatten out some of that extra goopy product. And in the end, we're trying to make the eyebrows as flat as our faces so that when we go to conceal them, they are the same texture as our skin, essentially. I only had to do one layer because my brows are pretty thin, but you might have to go in several times, letting the glue dry in between each time if you have thicker eyebrows. Then just put a concealer over them. I'm actually just using a white concealer because my skin is essentially going to be white. I just dot a heavy amount of the concealer over the brows using my finger, and then I just blend out the edges a little bit using both my finger and a dense concealer synthetic brush. And both of these steps are just going to make sure that we don't have too harsh of an area where we're covering our eyebrows. Use tapping motions as always when blending out concealer. This way you're not swiping the product and making it look like there are brush swipes in the concealer. Next, for the complexion, I'm using a mixture of that same white concealer and my lightest foundation that I have, which is Hard Candy Glamouflage Foundation in the lightest shade from the drugstore. I just put this on my face after mixing them both on the back of my hand, and then I use a brush to blend them out. This is a Real Techniques foundation brush. It's synthetic hair, and it's perfect for blending this out because it'll leave a nice natural finish. Use tapping motions like with the concealer. This way there's not brush swiping motions in there, but I do use swiping motions initially just to move the product around. I'm making sure to hit everywhere, including the tops of my ears, blending it down my chin, blending up into my hairline, and blending into the corners of my nose. I'm also taking it over the eyes. It's going to act as our eyeshadow base, and it's going to neutralize any redness or purpleness or yellowness that we have there that can conflict with all the white we have going on our face. It's important to make sure that every surface is covered. This way your skin is uniform in its color and it's super light, which is what we are going for. I'm setting the shit out of this. You want to make sure that it is super set, that way it's not sliding around and revealing your real skin color underneath. So I'm patting on plenty of setting powder, make sure it's translucent. It can be one that leaves a white cast, obviously. And I'm just baking some parts of my face, swirling it on other parts of my face, but making sure it's 100% set everywhere, that when you touch it, it is smooth. And making sure to set under my eyes as well, this time using a white eyeshadow. This is Taco from Sugar Pill, and I'm putting that in all the basically high points of my face, both as an additional step to set and to lighten certain parts of my face, the normal parts that you would highlight. But we just want to make sure it's pretty uniformly white, or at least light. Just make sure there's no harsh lines where you put any of the white eyeshadow. Do this by using the same brush you used to blend out your translucent powder, and just blend that with circular motions all over the face. Next, I'm taking Downtown from ColourPop, which is the perfect cool tone shade for contouring. It's basically as cool as you're going to get, which is why it's good for this. It's basically the color of natural shadow, and we're going to use this starting way up at our temples down to our lips to be our contour shade to make get those really high Marylin Manson cheekbones. I'm next taking Makeup Geek High Tea, and I'm going to set that since it is a cream product, and this is just going to darken it up as well and cool it down a bit, because since our face is white, even the coolest possible color can look a little bit warm, so we're just going to make sure we cool it down, both by setting it with this eyeshadow, tracing it out and blending it upwards, and by putting a little bit of white on top to cover up any warmth that happened from blending it out. The white's just going to cancel that out and make sure this stays nice and cool. I'm carving it out underneath as well just to make sure it's extremely stark. Next, I'm taking L'Oreal Infallible Eyeshadow in Smoky Gray, which is a matte gray shade. And to start the eyes, I'm taking a fluffy brush that's still a little bit dense, and I'm starting right where my orbital bone turns into like my nose bone, and I'm just placing some there and blending it out a little bit. Harsh lines are okay for this particular look because Marylin Manson has some harsh lines. So I basically move it straight across right into where my orbital bone is, but we don't want it to be a rounded shape. We do want it to go straight across. So I just basically move in sections. One section is where it meets my nose. One section is in the center, basically making a straight but blended line. And then one is winged out on the outer corner. And then you can just connect all three of those with a little bit more of the gray eyeshadow. Back and forth is all you're going to need for this because we are basically just mapping out our shape, and we'll blend everything a little bit later, but we just want to make sure it's nice and straight and even on both sides. Then connect it down to the outer corner of your eye just so that we know it's covering the entire eye, and we'll be able to connect it down to the lower lash line. Same thing, place it there perfectly straight down and then connect the two. The idea is that looking straight forward, it's completely straight. Then take a flatter brush and place it underneath. Just place it tightly to your lash line. We're going to go in with black later, and it's just going to basically be raccoon eyes. That is what we're going for. Just straighter version of raccoon eyes. Next, blend the whole thing out with a less dense brush. I'm using this Real Techniques fluffy brush, and we're just going to make the product basically blend into itself to make sure there's no patchy spots. Next, I'm taking NYX Hot Black eyeshadow, and I'm going to use this to pack the black all over my lid. I'm making sure to get as close to the upper lash line as possible. I'm making sure it touches the gray that we have on top, and I'm making sure I'm placing this into my crease in the same straight shape that we have going on up top. I'm also placing this in the same shape on the lower lash line, just making sure to carve out my lower lash line perfectly and making sure this goes all the way around, and then blending the gray and the black together using my same fluffy brush just to make sure there aren't patchy spots again. I'm taking this opportunity to wing it out a little bit more, making sure it kind of covers my brow a little bit because we want it to go nice and far up and straight. Now I'm taking a little bit of the smoky gray eyeshadow, and just for a tiny bit of dimension on the eye, I'm packing this onto the center of the lid just so it's a slightly lighter area. Now I'm taking the eyeshadow down my nose a bit because he has that down the nose, like not really a contour thing, but it's just pulled down there for drama, I guess. So I'm just taking some black down the nose. It doesn't have to be perfectly blended because that's not what we're going for. Now for the lips, I'm taking a black eyeliner and I'm fiercely overlining them both on the bottom and then taking it up in a straight line and then just super rounding out my Cupid's bow, making sure it connects though as we get further in. Pull it up and back on the lower lash line and connect it inward. That's the easiest way that you're going to be able to overline the lips this big, by taking the line upwards and just connecting it inward. Next, I'm taking NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream in the shade Morocco, which is just a neutral red. Putting this in the center, and then taking the ColourPop Lippie Stick in Bold Chick, which is just a matte black. And I'm just putting this on the outer corners and against the lip line on the top and bottom. This way, when I press my lips together, it creates an ombre. And now you have those fierce clown lips and your whole Marylin thing going on. This is the final look in my Goth Icon series. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you for my upcoming Halloween tutorial. Thank you for watching.